Do believe that Joe Max is ready. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Paul?
Doing good. We just read the story talking about the Golden Triangle. So many different things going on, Joe. Is Starkville in the running to be the #1 best small town in the South on USA Today's Best Small Towns in the South category. Kudos to you folks in the Golden Triangle. That's just one of the things going on.
Vote early and vote often.
Yep, vote like a Democrat. Do it multiple times. In this one, I think it's I'm not sure if it's allowed or not, but do it anyway. All right. Did you get therapy when the Marshall County and the Madison thing happened? I understood you needed some therapy.
No. Here's the deal. those two guys that do what I do up there are probably two of my best friends in the business.
Yeah.
And Joey used to work for us in Madison County, and he's just like a brother to me. I mean, I love him. I was so proud for him. And Justin Hall probably does more with less resources than about any of us in the state. And he's just a young guy that just doesn't know anything but working hard and head down.
Yep.
So I was following it before it got public and talking to both of them and giving them an encouragement and say, get it over the line. So don't look, Paul. The only way we move the needle for the state is to have about 4, 5, or 6 places that can routinely put up real good wins. That's the only thing that's going to move the needle. 50 jobs here and 20 jobs there ain't going to do it.
I just read a story about the wood pellet people down there in the southern part of the state having some problems in the Pine Belt area, maybe a bankruptcy with that wood pellet thing. Everybody looks at it and says, all right, what are my assets? What can I do to further this and create jobs? And it's a multitude of different things, and it doesn't happen overnight.
No, it doesn't happen overnight. And I will tell you this, using those two examples in Madison and Marshall County, they've been working on those sites. You need to realize the Marshall County sites, they got the PACCAR, and remember, PACCAR's in Columbus too. PACCAR, Mercedes-Benz, and Cummins joint venture. Aluminum Dynamics strongly looked at that site. Okay, so Justin and them been putting that site together, figuring out transportation plans, doing all that, and then of course that site in Madison County, it had been sitting there since God made the earth, but it took a Joey Deason to go in and start figuring out how to get the power there, how to get the water there, how to get the streets there, how to acquire it, and do the environmental study and market it. So everybody thinks that these deals are just the politicians sit with the whiskey and the cigars in the back room and decide where they're going to put the next deal.
Yep.
Make no mistake, the deal decides where it's going to go, and it's going to go at the most prepared place.
Well, even if you are prepared, you have to have the assets. You have to have the infrastructure. You have to be in as far if it's transportation, whatever it happens to be, and then the workforce availability in that area to be either trainable or available asset immediately. It's a lot of different moving parts.
It is, Paul, but everybody wants to talk about the kumbaya around the fire and the workforce programs, and we're doing this to train people. At the end of the day, these companies are coming in with short timelines, and if you don't have the wetland delineations done and the sign off by the Corps and all the environmental stuff that has to be done, no company in this day and age is going to wait 48 months for that stuff to get done. I mean, they got to walk in, know it's done today, then they deal with the workforce and the labor and the other things.
As one of, and I forgot which one it was either Marshall County or the Madison County, where the company said, of all the places that you could go, why in Mississippi? They said they just made it so attractive we couldn't turn them down.
Well, yeah, and look, a lot of this is God-given assets, and a lot of it is man-made assets, and then just structuring. And I think everybody fails to realize you got to listen to these companies and find out. Generally, there's 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4 key drivers. We take those when we listen to them and find out what it is. We develop our executive summaries, and we step on real hard those executive summary drivers that make the project go. And I'll tell you, in from what I know, and we worked both those projects, but the presence of the fiber on the 20 55 corridor in Madison County, I just think made it so appealable location that it was hard to compete with.
I want to ask you this because I have no idea, just curious about it. But when you start looking at national news, and I know you guys are going to follow this, and certainly news coming out of Washington as far as economics and trades and regulations and all of this, but are you worried about this story that kind of blossomed in the last few days that China is trying to circumvent some barriers as far as the sensitivity on shipping cars to America by building some massive plants, and some of those plants, according to what I've read, are already being built in Mexico, and then Mexico ships them in.
Yeah, no, I think that's an absolutely valid concern, and the bottom line is people establish whatever rules you want to establish, and smart people, and Chinese are not dummies. They're going to figure out loopholes and angles, and I think a lot of business people do. So yeah, I think that's reason for concern.
What's the status report over there? Because somebody showed me a drone shot over the Madison, which is only a stone's throw from our studio in the Jackson area. I mean, we're just you go out there and you look at what was acres and acres and acres of pine, and now I mean they're just there's heavy equipment all over that place. It's just massive. And I haven't seen a drone shot of you guys over there, but it's probably twice as much.
Yeah, we'll get you some. So, right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 projects under construction. Obviously,
wow.
the largest is the aluminum mill. The superstructures are up. The roof's on part of it. The walls are on part of it. I was out there yesterday. I think I counted 8 huge cranes that are erecting that building. It's something to behold. Biochar has started to set equipment. That's good. Taylor Turberg just rolled off their first truck off the truck plant a couple of weeks ago, and Altex Tube made their first tube about the same time. So I've got to go out this week.
Wow.
They've got me the Taylor boys aren't giving me a truck, but the Altex tube people are giving me a piece of tube to put up in my office. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 projects that have been announced that have or are starting construction in 24. 9. The largest being the Pack Car Reman and Mothership improvements, about $200 million. But we've got the aluminum customer park. We've got Project Orange, Project Squeeze. Amazon's under construction now in Starkville. So I think we've got 9 projects, and that doesn't count the prospects we're still working.
Wait a minute. Wait. Hold on. I want to ask you about the Amazon in Starkville, also the aluminum plant. Where are we at the status as far as the possibility of hiring or taking resumes when we come back with Joe Max Higgins in a moment or two, CEO? Back with Joe Max. Oh, by the way, I did post this on X at Paul Gallo Show, PaulGalloshow, the link to vote for the Starkville as the number 1 small town, and Bay St. Louis is listed at number 11, so we can bring them up also. Sevierville, Tennessee is in there, Gulf Shores, Alabama, and places like that. But vote, and as Joe Max said, vote often. All right, you said something about Starkville and Amazon in Starkville. What's that one about?
Okay, so we had a spec building that we constructed in the North Star Park. And Amazon has leased that and are putting in the equipment, and they are building what we call a last mile distribution facility. So those trucks and cars that bring you your stuff at your house will probably originate there, drop up, leave your package. As my understanding, this was the 3rd one in the state. There was one in Hattiesburg, one in Jackson. I don't know which one came first, but this is the 3rd of those, and I think they've announced a 4th since then. But it's just more of their distribution network. They got the big stuff, and then they trickle down, and then they call these last mile facilities.
Joe, you and Joey both, I'm not too sure about you, but I think they're running out of space as far as the mega site in Madison County. Is that your situation?
Well, you got to understand when the aluminum mill, the biochar, and the future project came, They took 2,600 acres of developed land, water, sewer, a lot of it rail, roads already in place. It was in our portfolio, poof, gone. So as soon as we knew we had the deal done, we put under option a new 1,500-acre site called the Cinco Mega Site. And we are scheduled on track to acquire that this time next year. We've put it under option. We've done all the due diligence, the surveys, the soil borings, public hearings, bonding authority from the county, and we think that we'll get money to buy the site as early as July, maybe October. But we are developing the new Cinco Mega site. It's got a $53 million tag on it to fully infrastructure it and develop it.
Wow.
And that's the next big thing, and the reason we're calling it Cinco, that's not a sinkhole, that's CINCO 5, is this will represent the Golden Triangle's 5th mega site that we have developed in the last 20 years.
Got to ask you, it's just a feeling, but it looks like the car industry, the automobile industry, and I mean, we were very, very fortunate, and I think we've proven ourselves as far as the Toyota plant and also the Nissan plant. But is that market still available for another car plant in the future, or with the EV and everything else, it's just kind of disheveled now?
We don't see a lot of OEM deals looking anymore, okay? Now, that's not saying they're not out there. We just don't see them coming across. EV was and still is hot, but not to the assembly part, but the manufacturing of the battery or the manufacturing of the battery components. I'd say probably 25% of the deals the last several years that have looked at North Star Park and, well, all three of our parks really, but 25% at North Star have been EV related. Now, when you start watching what's happening with Toyota and Hyundai and Kia and some of those other companies, you know, I don't think everybody's going to be driving electric cars, just like I didn't think we would when they started talking about it. And I'm starting to subscribe to about 30% market penetration is about it.
That's
and
it.
I think in the early days of this, we were really going after some of those battery plants. And now I have apprehensions about them because I think there could be a set of a musical chairs game being played. And if you're not tied to an OEM, and you don't have a ready-made customer that's coming, the music could stop and you could end up without a seat. And that's the last damn thing I want to do. So, you know, we're seeing the SK scale back. We're seeing the Ford Lightning truck up in Tennessee scale back, number of jobs, number of people. There's been one on one of my local dealers' lots for about a year. Every time I get an oil change, they ask me if I want to drive it. And I don't think they can give the damn thing away. So you know, at the end of the day, you know, we're kind of shying away of those and going for more basic things, if that makes sense.
It's almost like building a building just because somebody said it was a good idea without doing your due diligence. Aren't you still a little bit amazed that the President of the United States of America could push this and have the entire auto industry, which comprises a pretty big chunk of business in this country, make these kind of decisions? Yeah,
and I've got a good friend that's on one of the big GM boards. You know, obviously we're, you know, PACCAR's here and we talk to them. And when a lot of this stuff started coming out, you know, I just asked them. And, you know, some of them said, hey, look, we don't see EV as much as we see hydrogen. And now, you know what, 5, 6, 7 years later, you're starting to see hydrogen at the top of the feed talking about, you know, that's the way to go. So, you know, at the end of the day, I don't think one thing's going to solve all the problems. It's going to be a multitude. But, you know, if you were we were talking yesterday, Paul, about the new Jeep. There's an EV Jeep. And it's a plug-in, and it's a hybrid. It's a gas and a plug-in. The battery range on that is 21 miles. Now, it kicks on and runs. That's on their website. It kicks on and runs on gas after that. It's got a range of like 350, 360 miles.
Yeah.
But you know, hell, I couldn't get to working back on battery.
Well, I don't understand because the Toyota Prius was a winning format on it, and they actually came out with another one, which is, and I forgot what it's called. It's the Toyota Prius, but it's a hybrid, but it's a plug-in. Why was that even necessary?
No, my mother had the Honda Civic hybrid. You didn't plug it in. It got 49 miles a gallon.
Yes.
And when she was going around getting her groceries and stuff like that, she never burned any gas. I mean, it was real cool.
Well, it's another failure to listen to anything in this administration. I got to ask you this before we run out of time: does the acquisition of the data processing plant in Madison County help you out over there, because they usually build multiple ones? Are you guys after one for the Golden Triangle area?
No, not now. I mean, I don't know if you remember when y'all were interviewing Bill Cork. He said the state's been working on this project for 5 years. We were one of the original ones that looked. It's my understanding that Madison, us, and I think Tupelo got invited to go down and meet with Roger and his team in 2019, and we put a proposal together. At that time, they were looking at building 3 locations, more than 10, less than 50 miles apart. And as they built one building, they built the other 2. They built another building, they built the other 2. Mm-hmm. We did not make the cut, and I think that fiber thing I referenced earlier is probably the good indicator. But no, we're data centers. You know, electricity is starting to be a premium, and we use a lot of it. I mean, the steel mill is TVA's biggest customer in the valley at 360 megawatts. The aluminum mill is going to use 300. We are in scoping and engineering design right now for the Cinco mega site at 150. And if you add that up, we're at a moderate sized nuclear power plant usage in about a 7,000 acre site. So I think with the jobs associated with most data centers and the energy used, we're probably going to pass and go with something that's our sweet spot would be 400 or 500 jobs and about $1 billion. That would make me happy.
I think the general public is happy with all of this also. It is, and I'll just a little caveat in here, the things that you're doing, the things that Madison County has done as far as the data processing center, all of these things are guys in a milkshake have the big straws, and they're sucking it out. And as long as the general public doesn't find out their rates are going up because of this, everything will be okay. But if the energy rates start going up, there are going to be a lot of questions asked. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, but here's the thing on the data centers. And I was with one of the executives. We got 3 solar farms under construction here now, big ones, and more to come. But we were talking, and they said, power generation, whether people realize it or not, having capacity is of national security importance. Because as AI stuff, I don't understand, Paul, but as those things start becoming more and more and more, if we don't have the juice to run these data centers and do this AI to keep up with the rest of the world, we could get left behind it. And one of these executives told me last week, he said, Joe, the next 5 years are going to be extremely critical in how our power grid and our power companies do to build more capacity to get ready to make those services.
Hey, let me ask you this, and we're almost out of time here, but we got another segment coming up, so if you can hold on, I'll keep over. But are you courting any of these people who are building or making the solar panels themselves, as far as manufacturing the solar panels?
No, not the manufacturing. We've got Orgus that is built. They got Orgus 5 and 6. That's what they call them. That are under construction. The substations are done. The battery backups are done. They're out there. It's
where are these things built? Are they made overseas or here somewhere in this country?
Yeah, a lot of them are made in China.
That's what I thought.
We have not yet started. We're doing.
Hold on. I got a final segment coming up, and I do want to ask you about the employment as far as the aluminum plant. So we'll do that when we come back. Final segment with Joe Max Higgins. Joe, they're rewriting that song as all the gold in California is moving south. So
I love it, song.
God, the inquiries coming in across the state and across the South has got to be at an all-time high, because these people couldn't have screwed it up more if they tried.
No, you're right. Years ago, Mike Randall owned Southern Business Magazine, and he used to set up booths at our conferences, and he was really promoting moving companies south from the Rust Belt, Northeast United States, and he had a coffee cup that on the inside it was written, "Wake up, buddy, you're in Buffalo." And he had a T-shirt that I've still got somewhere. Won't fit me, but I've still got it. and it had a logo on the chest, and it said Yankee Factory Hound, feed on the wounded.
I'd put it on because if beer helps you a little bit, it would emphasize that at the midriff part. It would stand out quite a bit there. So
yeah, that's right.
I do want to ask you this as far as the hiring status, because a lot of people are asking me about this. Where are we status-wise, resumes, et cetera, for the aluminum plant?
Well, they're still under construction, Paul, and they had a job fair early, and I think that was to get the word out. But you're talking about from the time they stick a shovel in the ground, it's a 2-year build.
Yeah.
Now, they don't get me wrong, they're hiring people out there. They're hiring, I think they want to get some of their technicians and people like that on board while they're building the plant. I mean, it stands to reason if you're going to be one of the electrical guys that they'd want you to be on board while they're building it so you'd see where everything is, how it's hooked up, how it works, all that stuff. I do know also that they are transferring, several people have transferred from the steel mill over to the aluminum mill. I was talking to the transportation director the other day. I think 8 people have transferred over there for better opportunities. You're stuck in a spot with 2 people in front of you. You can move over there and maybe be the head person. So there's a lot of backfill there. But probably on the job front on the aluminum mill, we're about 6-8 weeks away from hitting peak construction workers, and they're estimating that to be 3,000 people.
Well, they still contracting?
Yeah. I mean, you go out there, that parking lot where we had the groundbreaking is almost full of cars right now. It holds 1,500 cars. I don't know where they're going to put the rest of the people, where they park. You go there, you park, you check in, you get on the bus, they take you to the job site. And but that's where the big jobs are right now. Now, Taylor Turberg and Alltex and those guys are hiring. And the aluminum mill is too, but not to the big numbers of,
I got you. Where, Joe, is the best place? Is it on your website or their individual websites to get updated information on that?
Probably our website, and Steel Dynamics got a website too. Either one of them would be a good portal for you to go.
All right, we only got a few seconds left here. Jeremy England, Senator England, coming on in a moment or two, but Senate gavels in at 10 o'clock, the House at 2 p.m. Any bills out there that you want to shout out since the majority, I got a quorum here of House and Senate members listening?
We've got a bill that has passed the House on the Cinco mega site to give Lowndes County some flexibility on how they finance that. The House has passed it. It's been transmitted to the Senate. We're hopeful that they'll pass that. That'll give us a little relief. And other than that, we're just like everybody else, tuning in and watching. A couple of weeks ago, I had it on my iPad, and it was on all day long. I was watching the Senate floor while I was working.
It is amazing. Sometimes it gets a little boring, but every once in a while a spark will fly. You get that right.
I'll be honest with you. Perception there is I have no earthly idea how Delbert stands up there. And, sometimes the senators will get out of order. It is just amazing to me. I could not do that day, hour in, hour out. I could not do that. 15 minutes, I'd be done.
And when Mr. Kirby comes up, Dean comes up, it's the same way. You just, especially when you have people asking questions that are so stupid that they should know about. Now, that doesn't always happen, but every once in a while, and there's some joking going on and things such as that, but it is a long, laborious.
If you'll notice, you see the lectern of who's speaking, you'll see who's presiding over the Senate in the other screen. You never see the crowd, and I wonder if they're back there, making funny faces or what all antics are doing. I think that would be that'd be a good blooper reel after the session every year.
Well, we've come a long way for just putting the cameras in there that we have, and I wish that someone would take the initiative to expand that, like you said, additional camera angles out there would be great. Joe, it's always a pleasure, man. You're as good on the air as you are in the office, and we thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You got it. Joe Max Higgins, CEO, Golden Triangle Development.